back, and joining me now is Congressman Khanna, Democrat from California. He's teamed up with a Republican colleague in the House to try and force a vote on whether the Trump administration should publicly release all the files related to Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, this is such an interesting development around all of this. You've been working with Thomas Massie on this bill. You had put forward the amendment, which didn't move forward. What does this bill actually do? What would it compel them to release?
So it does two things. First, it forces a vote on the House floor. The Speaker doesn't want to have a vote. This would force a vote if 218 members sign it. And second, it would compel the release of all Epstein files while making it explicitly clear that victims are protected and no child pornography gets released, but all of the evidence, and if there's a client list, that gets out.
So you've worked with Thomas Massie before. This is not your first rodeo with Thomas Massie, but you were just telling me he's gotten more support from Republicans. Where are you right now in terms of the support you need to move this forward?
It's really remarkable. He's been texting me all day. We got Boebert. We got Marjorie Taylor Greene. We have up to 7 Republicans now. When I've worked with Thomas Massie before, it's been on war powers resolution. We're both very passionate that presidents have to come to Congress before taking strikes overseas. We did it to stop the war in Iran. We got exactly 1 Republican, Thomas Massie. And now we have 7. And it shows that this is a real fracture in the Republican base.
And that's enough, isn't it?
That's enough. So the way this works is the bill needs to be on the calendar for 7 days. After 7 days, we can get the signatures. Unfortunately, Congress will be in recess in August. But when we come back, we'll have the signatures, and then we get a vote. But what's happening is the president is hearing this and responding. He's not just lashing out at Thomas Massie on Truth Social, where he's getting ratioed for the first time. But he's also now saying, look, he wants to appoint a special prosecutor. I think what the lesson for Democrats is, look, we don't have to respond to Trump in kind. When he insults us, we don't have to just insult him back or get in the gutter. We can actually fight him in a very smart way, which is to say this populism was a house of cards. You said that the government was corrupt. You said that you didn't want to protect rich, powerful men. And then when you had the chance to release the files about protecting rich, powerful men to protect our children, you bluffed.
But don't you think that's all just him melting down and freaking out? I mean, even the special prosecutor thing, which the headline in that is totally misleading, because he's basically trying to add in a bunch of disproven things that he's saying he's going to declassify.
Exactly.
It's not a real thing. But this is him kind of melting down and seeing the pressure, I think. But let me ask you about, because there's these 7 Republicans. I can't imagine you ever thought you'd be on something with Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert, but here we are in July of 2025. How do you keep them on board through a very long August recess where they're going to get pressure from Trump in the White House, probably be cheered by the manosphere? Is that what your hope is?
You know, I originally would tell you that they were going to fold. I mean, that's been the case when it comes to Medicaid cuts. That's been the case when it's come to Iran and the strikes. But in this case, there's something different. And what's different is the MAGA base really is disappointed in Donald Trump. I mean, they voted for him because they thought the whole system was corrupt. They voted for him because they thought he was going to clean this up. And you know what I've told someone? I said more damaging for Donald Trump than being in the Epstein files is that he's not releasing them. I think if he was in the Epstein files, that's sort of baked in. People are like, okay, won't be shocked. But he promised that he was going to take down these rich and powerful people. And he's not doing that. And so I think in this case, the pressure is only going to build. The fact that they're co-sponsoring this, that's even a stronger sign than just signing a discharge petition. Yeah,
it probably depends on how he's in the Epstein files. Okay, if he's in there, I have no idea why he's like so obsessed and talking about this all the time. There are clearly, the MAGA base clearly thinks that there is stuff in there, right? Yeah. Not necessarily about Trump or who knows what they think, but about other people. What do you think is in there?
I think that there is probably evidence and witness interviews of rich, powerful men who engaged in behavior that they shouldn't have engaged in. Now, what happened is probably it didn't rise to the level of prosecution. And there's a reason in this country that the DOJ has a policy that says we don't leak things if we don't charge people. You don't want a Justice Department out there just leaking, destroying people's reputations. But this case, I think the president has to say, is different. The Attorney General has said that there's a client list. He himself campaigned on this. People are wondering whether national security is at stake, whether intelligence agencies are at stake. And what he should say is, because of all of that, there's an exception, and I'm going to just release everything, not the victims, but everything else, and let the American people decide. He's the one who has raised the stakes. But, you know, Jen, what's so depressing to me as being a member of Congress, and I don't know if you saw this when you worked for President Biden, is the distrust people have in government, right? When John F. Kennedy was president, 60% of Americans trusted government. That number is in the teens. And if we don't release these files now, that number is continue to go down. And so for people to say, why should we care about this? Medicaid is being cut. Immigrants are being deported without due process. We should care about this because it's about the trust in government. And without that, nothing else matters.
Congressman Khanna, you're relentless. You're continuing to push this. Let's keep talking about it. I want to keep hearing, keep giving us updates on other Republicans.
I can text you every Republican that
Let's
signs
hear
on.
If any come in the next 40 minutes, let us know and we'll tell people about it. Thank you so much for being here with me.